I believe that technology and these trends that are happening have created a huge shift in power dynamics. I think that it's shifted power to consumers, it's shifted power to teams, and there's a lot of data and studies that are coming out around promoting something that Harvard Business Review refers to as 2D diversity. So diversity of experiences, diversity of many different backgrounds, and how the empowerment of that, coupled with this huge shift that we're experiencing driven by digitization and technology, is changing it's changing the entire power dynamics in organizations. And so it's changing the requirements for a different type of leadership style. It's changing the way organizations have to approach things, how they have to consider threats, consider how they grow, et cetera. So it's linking those different topics together, which is quite, it's interesting for me because I never realized that those things were so closely connected. But from as far of a topic as, how the US military has approached fighting terrorism, and they've approached it in such an old school hierarchical way. They were dropping leaflets over Syria, trying to convince people not to join the jihad from old school aircraft, to the way that you actually see some of these terrorists recruiting other people, as we know, leveraging technology, leveraging this whole new form of power that is it's treated in a very different way. So even looking at that example to looking at organizations that have been successful, how a big organization shifts and with the times and changes to and adapts to all these changes, and how they're leveraging a different type of essentially a different leadership style that's required. So it's connecting those two things, that all of these technology changes and trends that are happening, we're actually experiencing. I used to talk a lot about the Moore's Law curve. I know Marnie came out to one of my talks, and I used to always talk about that, and I was like obsessed with that, because I work in these really old school industries where only 17% of the industries are actually digitized. So what they're doing is still paper-based. So I used to always think, well, you keep traveling up this curve and more of industries are going to be digitized. But actually what we're seeing now with things like AI and things like entire industries being disrupted, we're going to actually see a step increase. So we're going to experience something that's, I believe, a lot more dramatic than what I originally thought of, this sort of continuous change every year. And so with that, I believe that the only way for organizations, from something like fighting terrorism to staying relevant as a grocery store company, the only way for those organizations to stay relevant is to essentially blow up the way they operate internally, and to leverage a whole bunch of different people around the table, different ages, different backgrounds, so that 2D diversity, so people that have lived all over the world, thought in different ways, et cetera, and to embrace this completely new way of leading.